How are I-bond rates calculated? Series I savings bonds, or simply I-bonds, issued by treasurydirect.gov have been in the news a lot lately for their inflation hedging capabilities. In this video, I'm going to go over how I-bond rates are calculated. And I'll leave time links in my video to each of the topics that I'm covering listed here. All of this right after. I am not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Learn to invest like a wolf at your own risk. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel, Wolves of Investing. My name is Donnie Witten and I'm the founder of Wolves of Investing. If you're new, I talk about stocks, SPACs, Bitcoin, options, and anything on my mind related to investing. If you want to learn how to achieve financial freedom through investing, be sure to click on that subscribe button and notification bell if you haven't yet. And please remember to drop a like if you enjoy this video, as it truly helps out the channel. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I-bond rates are set every May 1st and November 1st. An I-bond consists of two rates, a fixed rate and an inflation rate. Added up, they make the combined rate, also known as the composite rate or the earnings rate. For example, at the time of filming this video in October of 2022, the fixed rate is 0%, but the annualized inflation rate is 9.62%, for a combined rate of 9.62%. Before we move on, let's briefly talk about when your I-bond inflation rate would change if you were to buy it today. Does it change every May 1st and November 1st? Or do you get to keep the prevailing rate for 6 months? You actually get to keep the prevailing rate for 6 months, regardless of what month you buy it in. For example, if you buy it in May, you get to keep that rate until November. In June, you keep it until December. July, you keep it until January, and so on and so forth. After 6 months, it will change to the then prevailing inflation rate. Now let's dig into the fixed rate portion of the I-bond. Here's a PDF chart from treasurydirect.gov showing every fixed rate going back to September of 1998. I'll leave a link to this chart in the video description. At the time of this video, the highest the fixed rate has ever been was 3.6% from May of 2000 through October of 2000. Any I-bond bought in any given 6-month period would keep that fixed rate for the life of that I-bond for up to 30 years. And of course, you can choose to end that I-bond's life early by cashing out after the initial holding period of 12 months. For example, let's say you bought I-bonds in June of 2000. You bought some more I-bonds in December of 2006, and some more I-bonds in October of 2022. Your I-bonds from June of 2000 would have the fixed rate of 3.6%. The ones from December of 2006 would have the fixed rate of 1%, and the ones you bought from October of 2022 would have the fixed rate of 0%. Now let's dig into how the I-bond inflation rate is calculated every 6 months. The semi-annual inflation rate is calculated using the well-known Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, also known as the CPI-U. I'll leave a link to the CPI-U data I'm using from BLS.GOV in the video description. The I-bond inflation rate for May is calculated from the March CPI-U and the previous September CPI-U. For example, the annualized inflation rate starting May 1st, 2022 was 9.62%. That was calculated by dividing 287.504, which was a CPI-U in March 2022, by 274.310, which was the CPI-U in September 2021. We subtract 1 to get the semi-annual inflation rate of 4.81%. Then we multiply that by 2 to get 9.62%. Similarly, the I-bond inflation rate for November is calculated from the September CPI-U and the previous March CPI-U. The September 2022 CPI-U was just released last week, so I'll take a stab at predicting what the November 2022 inflation rate will be. We just take the September 2022 CPI-U of 296.808, divide that by the March 2022 CPI-U of 287.504, subtract 1 to get 3.236%, which I'm going to round up to 3.24%, and multiply that by 2 to get 6.48%. So assuming my math was correct, the annualized I-bond inflation rate should change to 6.48% on November 1st, 2022. All right, so now that we've talked about the I-bond fixed rate and how to calculate the I-bond inflation rate, let's talk about what would happen to your I-bond if the inflation rate went negative. Can you have an I-bond with a negative rate of return and lose principal on your I-bond? Fortunately, the answer is no. The lowest rate of return your I-bond can have is 0%, even if the inflation rate went negative. This was tested during the Great Recession, when the semi-annual inflation rate went to negative 2.78% in May of 2009. Those I-bonds paid 0% interest at that time. Now let's talk about what happens to your I-bond interest if you hold it for less than 5 years. An I-bond must be held for a minimum of 12 months and can earn interest for up to 30 years. But if you cash out your I-bond before 5 years, you will lose the last 3 months of interest payments. Check out this video that I made that gives an in-depth example of how that works. Finally, let's talk about how I-bond interest is compounded semi-annually with an example. Let's say you bought an I-bond paying the 9.62% annualized rate, and then the annualized rate changed to 6.48% after 6 months. And let's say you held this I-bond for 15 months, which means that you would lose month 13, 14, and 15 if you cashed it out. Your I-bond interest would be 9.62% divided by 2 for the first 6 months, which is 4.81%. You would then get 6.48% divided by 2, or 3.24%, for the second 6 months. Because the interest compounds semi-annually, your total interest in this example would be 1.0481 times 1.0324, which equals 1.082. Subtract 1 and we get 8.2%. I also go over this example in depth in this video, so check it out to learn more. All right, so I know that was a lot of information. If you have any questions about how I-bond rates are calculated, drop me a line in the comments. Please be sure to leave a like on this video before leaving. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.